Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's talk about astrology. I feel like that's all I've been talking about now for hours and days and weeks. It is what I do for a living, so of course I talk a lot about it. But I, of course, was doing the webinar last night, and literally I could have talked for more time than what I did. I had notes to beat the band, and I couldn't get through them all. I just couldn't. And I knew that was going to happen because that's how I roll. I over prepare, and then I don't know. I just run out of time. But we had a great time last evening. There were some of my friends with me. Rebecca Eigen talking about relationships in 2019, and Angie Witzel, who was giving us her star seed information as well as her psychic impressions of the year. There was Natasha Venter, who did some, I think she was actually channeling information from Archangel Michael and from Mother Earth, and also then our friend Tam, who was there to talk to us about the energy almanac and all the work that she has done, putting that together and getting it ready for production, which I think she said last night it would go to print next week and be ready for delivery before Christmas. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. If nothing else, it will be ready to get to you by the first of the year. So you'll have right at your fingertips everything that is happening for 2019, along with a whole host of other things she shared with us that were in the almanac, which of course I knew, but I wasn't sharing because I knew that was something she wanted to share. So it was Michelle. Absolutely. Michelle says it was so full of juicy stuff. It was, and Mimi, good morning. Michelle, good morning. It was filled with this wonderful information. It was validating for me because I had only had one conversation with the ladies that were my guest, and that was about when they would be in the grand scheme of things, and to just give them, the free, ability to say whatever it was that they needed to say. And it was amazing how we validated one another. It made me feel like, oh yeah, I really do know what I'm doing. As if I really needed that. But sometimes it feels really good to have someone from outside of you come from a different perspective and say basically the same things, only, with their own words and in their own way. So it was really, really, really great. And what I'm going to do next is get the recording from last night's webinar, and I will make it available to you. You will still have to pay the $25 registration if you didn't already pay for that. And you can still download that then and have access to it if you didn't get to attend last night. For those of you who have already paid, you will be able, I'm going to email out this afternoon the link to you each individually so you have it to be able to listen to. And then I will post the slides. The slides are actually a part of the video, so you will see them, but I'm also going to post the PowerPoint presentation that I did with it so that you could print each of those separately because they're kind of fun to have. And it was an amazing evening. I just thank everybody who was there listening. I thank my guests who were on to share their wisdom. It was absolutely one of the best experiences I've had doing webinars. Everything seemingly went pretty smooth, except when I was trying to show some charts and I couldn't figure out how to get back to my desktop. No big deal. It worked out fine. What do you expect when you're doing a webinar in a Mercury retrograde, right? So, anyway, just gratitude for people who were there and for having the gift to be able to share with everybody about what is coming up. Good morning, Kristen. Good morning, Natasha. She's very grateful too. She says, good morning, Londa. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm feeling a little washed out this morning and a little bit foggy, a little bit disoriented. If you're feeling that way too, there's a good reason. The planet Mercury is getting ready to move direct today. In fact, he will turn direct at 1:23 p.m. this afternoon here in the Pacific Northwest or on the West Coast. And that would mean 4:23 this afternoon for you folks on the East Coast. Hallelujah. But anytime a planet is getting ready to shift, we get that feeling of disorientation or fogginess because Mercury rules communication. And that has to do with your mind and your mouth. They may feel out of sync this morning. Actually, for the whole entire day, even after the planet shifts, there may still be that residual feeling of, ugh, like fogginess. I wanted to attribute my fogginess to being tired. Um, but I don't think that's what it was. I got a good night's sleep. So we might just have to deal with that sort of tired, laissez-faire, foggy disorientation feeling today. And that's okay, right? Because what we're actually getting is the planet of communication moving forward, and that bodes well for us in the coming days and weeks, right? As we get to restore to some sense of normalcy our communication, our computers. But know that right around the retrograde, when it shifts into retrograde and when it shifts to direct, those are the wonky times, right? Those are the times where the weird things happen. So be aware, we still have some possibility that that can happen. And let's see, it's not until December 24th that Mercury absolutely clears its retro shade and gets into new territory. So we may still yet have some things to deal with until the 24th or so of December. And it's what it is, right? It's not as intense, though, after it changes back to forward motion. I love it. Mimi says, waving bye-bye to Mercury retrograde. Yes, bye-bye. Good morning, Vicky. And it's good to see you. And Natasha says she's headachy. It's her dance of the moment. Yeah. Headachy. I don't have a headache. I just feel my neck was really stiff. I felt like I just wanted to roll my neck around or get my private chiropractor massage therapist to loosen me up as if I have one. But no, that didn't happen this morning. So this too shall pass, and we will be on our way forward. However, today is not a good day to take action, right? When the planets like this change direction, it's like we get caught up in the wash of that planet as it changes either to backward motion or wash, whoosh when it goes forward. And for us, it feels like that disoriented, not quite clear feeling, right? Whether it becomes confusion about what direction to go, confusion about, understanding what someone's talking to you about, those kind of things. So it isn't really a good day today to make decisions. And I've been kind of telling you that this week anyway, that this week there are key transits happening that make it difficult for us to have clarity enough to make a clear decision for something big. I mean, if you want to decide to go to the movies this weekend or have lunch with a friend, that kind of thing is okay. But if you have big life decisions that you need to make, this is probably not a good time to do that. So let me just say that again. Not a good time to make big decisions, but it is a good time to evaluate what you might want to do, to look deeper into the situation, to consider all of your options, to maybe look at options you would normally not think about. So use the energy wisely, but don't make the actual decision yet. I do have a private one, Londa says. Yes, I do. I just never seem to get around to going to see her very often, Londa. What is up with that? Good morning, Colleen, and good morning, Shauna. It's good to see you two ladies out there as well. So today we have the moon in Sagittarius. If you are on the West Coast, Hawaii, or Alaska, you will experience the new moon in Sagittarius this evening, very late, probably after you go to bed. Well, at least on the West Coast, it'll be 11 something tonight. Not sure how far ahead behind me Alaska is or Hawaii. I think Hawaii is 3 hours behind us. So we all experience the new moon today, this evening. You all from Mountain Time to Central Time, Eastern Time, and on into Europe, you will experience the new moon tomorrow, albeit very early in the AM. And the new moon in Sagittarius gives us hope, gives us optimism. And today the moon is conjunct the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter. So today, even though I'm telling you, do not take action, it is a really good day to use those feelings of hope and optimism and generosity to really plan for your next steps, right? Plan for your next steps. Just don't really enact them yet, just because things aren't clear. This is a great day for self-confidence. You may feel really good about yourself. When the moon conjuncts Jupiter, especially in Sagittarius, it awakens our more spiritual side, and it really hones our connection to God, source, spirit, goddess, whatever you choose to call it. It doesn't matter. But we are really being awakened to a spiritual connection. And that's important. If you were there last night at the webinar, we talked a bit about that this whole 2019 has three key transits that happen at three key times in the year that solidify that it is appropriate for us to build a spiritual practice and to live from that spiritual practice in order to having it form our foundation. So I know most people have, some kind of spiritual practice, but maybe building on that and being very much aware that it does form the very foundation of who you are. Um, yeah, I thought about that. Londa says she had a dream of the earthquake the night before the Alaska earthquake, and I remembered that as soon as my husband was sitting across from me, and he said, or no, was it in the morning? I don't remember, but he said Alaska had a 7.0 earthquake. And I went, oh my gosh, I pick up my phone and it says damage, infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. And I went, oh my God, Londa had a dream about an earthquake. So yeah. We're having dreams. We're being inclined to gain information that we need. I think it's a good thing, even though we're on the West Coast here. When Alaska has earthquakes, we often go under a tsunami warning because who knows? I mean, often those earthquakes are in the ocean or, in the bay. What is that? The Cook Inlet. And when that happens, then often Washington, Oregon, and Northern California get hit with tsunamis. So it does have an effect on us. And even though that one didn't, they canceled the warning right afterwards once they realized it was, I think, on land. We are still all interconnected and we have access readily to that kind of intuitive knowing. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Tom. He says Facebook sucks. I'm guessing you must have had trouble getting in this morning. I don't know what that's about. Whatever, right? So moon in Sagittarius, moon conjunct Jupiter gives us ready access to being in alignment with the heart over the mind. And even though many times I say we want to align our hearts and our minds, right now we can very easily tap into living from the heart. And that is perfect in the wake of a new moon here, where in Sagittarius, the new moon really favors our quest for that spiritual connection. Hey, Angie, good morning. Facebook never gives me notifications. Grr. I don't know what's up with that. Facebook decided that I wasn't just a teacher, I'm a tutor. I never chose that. I don't know why under my name now in Living Astrology it says tutor/teacher. Heaven help me. Never anywhere is there a choice for spiritual leader or astrologer or anything like that. There are no choices. There are no good choices. So I chose teacher at the time, and then they changed it to tutor. So that's ridiculous. It makes it look like I'm an idiot because I picked something very bizarre, but I didn't choose it. I didn't. So good morning, Diana. Good morning, someone else that I just saw pass by me here, Willa. Good morning to everybody out there. Tom says, I've got them all set and still no notifications. What? Okay, I'm going to have to check with Facebook around that. Shauna, I love it. She says, haha, I noticed that. Thanks for tutoring us, Janet. Yeah. Vanita or Willis says, thanks, Vanita, for the reminder. Good morning, beautiful sisters. Sister, good morning, beautiful people. I don't know what Facebook is doing. I wish I had control. I don't. All I can do is check in with them and say, hey, every morning one of the first things I do is I go and I set up the Be Live broadcast. And then that interfaces with Facebook, and it tells me, it sends me back a message that says your listeners have been notified of your broadcast. I take that at I take that at face value, that they're notifying you all. Apparently, they must not be notifying every one of you, just some of you. But you can always just go to facebook.com/living astrology, scroll down the page a little bit until you come to the screen that says live broadcast or will be broadcasting or something like that. I don't know exactly what the words are. And you can just hold that on your screen and the broadcast will start hopefully automatically. Make sure your sound is on so you can hear it. If nothing else, just know 8 a.m. be here on Facebook on Living Astrology's Facebook page. And you'll find me, hopefully. Colleen, good morning. That happened to me, but then I suddenly started getting notifications. And do you remember, did you do anything about that? I mean, we got to get the key here because that's not good. But Mercury is retrograde too, so whatever, right? All right, let's take a quick look at the new moon. I will probably talk more about that tomorrow because I have some other juicy things I want to talk about today. Remember, the new moon is the beginning of a cycle, the portal, the gateway to something new. It is a great time for us to set intentions, for us to connect with where we want to be headed. And even though it isn't a great time to take action on some of those big things that you want to do, it is a great time to get aligned with the intention of what it is you want to manifest or what it is you're bringing in for this new moon period. Sagittarius is always about, of course, the quest for truth, the capital T truth, not the little truths that we think about, but the bigger truths, the truths of the universe, the truth of who I am, the truth of what my purpose is here. The truth is the truth that of what it is that makes me happy. What is it that I really love? So these are the things that we can focus our attention on. There is a lot of adventuring sort of feeling here with the new moon in Sagittarius. It wants to travel, it wants to move, it wants to grow, it wants to expand. So maybe it's a great time to take a look at what it is that you want to do in terms of travel for the upcoming year. I have a really great friend. She lives just down the street from me, actually, who is planning some really great spiritual retreats. She's in Morocco right now, but she's planning retreats to Cambodia, to Peru, and Ireland. Ireland is in September. Peru, I want to say, is, oh, I think it's in May, and Cambodia in February. And she's going to be doing a webinar that I'm going to share with you when she gets back from her travels to Morocco on those trips. So, that's a great thing to look forward to, right? Spiritual, all-inclusive trips, including the flight, including your hotel, your meals, guides, and meditation time and spiritual devotion time. It is something I've wanted to do. We're really thinking of doing the Ireland trip, me, my husband, my daughter. So exciting things, right? Coming up. And that's all something that can begin with the new moon, because if you have an intention to do that kind of travel, there is a price, right? It's going to be $3,000. I'm guessing maybe more. I don't know. I'm just going to throw out that number. I have no idea. So you might have to plan on putting some money away to be able to do that trip. Faith, optimism, trust, and surrender to higher power. That is all inclusive here as well in this new moon, aligning ourselves with God or the God source energy, goddess energy, cosmic mind, whatever you want to call it. Know that Sagittarius is home to the galactic center. And it is the galactic center that I always think of as the place that is streaming information to us here throughout the solar system. But because we're sentient beings here on this planet, it is the source, I believe, of all of the evolutionary impulses that are coming in. Interesting that falls in the sign of Sagittarius. And the one thing for us to watch out for in this period of time is that we keep things proportional, because the planet Jupiter can sometimes not see where the end of something is, right? It's boundary free, it's flowing, it's big, and it's sometimes given us the opportunity to go to excesses. And so we want to make sure we don't overindulge, that if we have places in our lives where we have overindulged, where we have been overly excessive, this might be a great time to rein that in, right? It might be your spending, it might be your eating habits, it might be any number of things, commitments that you make to doing things. So this is also a great new moon for you to be able to bring that in, rein it in, bring it back into what makes sense for you, proportion. All right. Any questions? Willa, Ireland. Yes, Ireland. So I'll make sure I share that with you. I may already know how to get a hold of that, so I'll check that today. And the webinar's free. It is just an informational webinar about the different trips that are coming up. I do believe she'll also show you some of the pictures from their last trip, which was to Machu Picchu. And that, of course, a wonderful place to go. I've always wanted to go there as well. So let's see. Colleen says, no, I didn't do anything and assumed either Facebook finally got it, or maybe because I set my phone alarm and was consistent in watching. That is the thing with Facebook, isn't it, guys? It is, you think you get it down and you know what to do, and then they change their algorithms. And there's something really annoying about that. But yet it is where billions of people, millions of people gather. So we kind of have to, work with their craziness. So I will try to figure out how people can get notifications for that, though. And if anybody else knows, if anybody else out there that's listening is a Facebook aficionado, please let me know. Hit me up and let me know, and I will share that with my people. Today, I wanted to take a look at the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the gates they are sitting at in your human design chart, which translates also over into gene keys. And we're not going to go as deep as we could if I had a lot of time, but I think there are some key things that we can learn about what is going on in the moment from the words, the thoughts that are around these particular gates. So Mercury direct, we've already talked about. It's at 27 degrees of Scorpio today, and that is where it changes directions. Interestingly enough, last night we discovered in the webinar that Mercury turns retrograde at that same degree next Halloween. So it's interesting that there seems to be something about this degree span of the astrology chart that we want to focus our energy on, that we need to have some repeated lessons about. I suspect it may be opportunities for us to let go of all of the things that are not true for us, let go of all of the emotional hurts and grievances that we're holding, because it does seem like that's what happens when we're in the sign of Scorpio, dealing with fear, etc. And anyway, so expect that to go expect the same planet to retrograde on the same degree it's changing to forward motion this time next year, or Halloween of next year. But when we look at that deeper, when we look at what gate that is in our human design, it's the gate 14. And it is the gate of bounteousness, right? Bounteousness is the highest expression of it. We have competence in the gift, and we have compromise in the lowest expression. So one of the things that I really keyed into here for all of us is that it at this gate, besides its apparent financial prosperity connection, it's about really offering up our gifts and our talents to the world and being willing to share them for the good of all. And it does not mean you don't get paid for the work you do, because that is not what I mean by this. But it means that many times we are hesitant, reluctant to get out there in the world in a big way and share what we know is of our gifts and our talents. I was having, I hope Cindy doesn't mind if I share this, but she was sort of having a conversation with me this morning. And she was, after the webinar last night, recognizing that she really has some key abilities to financially help other people. Not that she has the money to help people, but she has the skills to help people get aligned with their own financial life. And she's really seeing that as a gift and a talent that she has. So it is then what she needs to do next is to figure out how to be able to present that to people, because we're being called to share our gifts and our talents with Mercury direct at this gate now. And we're going to hear it again next year when Mercury goes retrograde at the same position, at this same gate. And it is then following from that the commitment and the perseverance to be empowered to stay the course, to stay on the path that it is that's going to be presenting your gifts and your talents, right? Rather than the shadow expression here, which is compromise, right? I'll compromise. I'll not necessarily do everything that I won't, maybe I won't express my gifts and talents out there to the world in any big way. I'll just do it in this little small way. Maybe with my family or my close friends, but I think we're being called to do something bigger than that here, especially because we're hearing that we're going to, this is going to be a reverberation throughout the year, and we're going to come back to it again in a year. So interesting timing. And it's really about empowering your path to prosperity. And your path to prosperity lies in you sharing of your gifts and your talents in a big way, right? It seems like it's almost what this Gene Key and Gate seem to be saying is that when you're utilizing your gifts and talents and when you're generously out there sharing them, it is a magnet to prosperity. So think about it that way. When we look at Venus, remember Venus, we talked about so much until she was really kind of out of the picture. She changed back to forward direction. She clears her retrograde zone December 17th. So she's still really, there for us to have a discussion about because she's moving back forward now over all of the fear gates that she's been in since last summer. And the fear gate that she's at starting today is the 28, which in its lowest expression, remember, was the fear of purposelessness. Say that 10 times fast. Purposelessness, where we feel like there's no reason for life, that nothing is making sense, that what am I here for? Oh, woe is me. And a lot of you that are millennials have this gate prominent in your human designs. Whether it's Pluto sitting there, Neptune sitting there, or Uranus sitting there, because one of the three outer planets were moving through that area in the 80s and early 90s. So some way you have that planet prominent, and it is finding your path, right? It's about finding your path. And once you find that path, it is about totally embracing it with totality. Totality is the gift, and the highest expression of it is immortality. So here I wanted to give you a new way of thinking about this, playing the game of life with gusto, really engaged in it, even when life is throwing you lemons or throwing you curveballs, recognizing, remember, we've all played it probably, the game of life, the board game, where we're driving our little car and we have all the different experiences. We go to college, we have kids, we get married, we have bills to pay, we get set back, we have, things that move us forward. And it is about playing the game of life. It's really a great metaphor for what happens to us. But the purpose of a game is to win, right? And the purpose here in our life is to find equilibrium in our expression of who we are. So in other words, we want to stay true to our ideals and our standards, even when life looks bleak, and engaging in the totality of that experience, not saying I only want to have those things, right? And then when life gives you the bad things, totally diving into, well, there's no purpose to life. Every time I take a step forward, I end up getting shot backwards, and I don't want to do that anymore, and I'm going to give up. Oh, woe is me, right? It takes us into victim energy. Being the victim and playing the victim is so last century, right? We don't need that anymore. We're letting go of that. And this is the reason Venus is sitting there. She's telling you to align your gifts, your talents, your values. Live from your values, live from your high standards. Don't allow yourself to be brought down to the lower frequency energies when you want to be living at the higher frequency energies, right? If you're a master, you realize and recognize that life is going to throw you curveballs. And it's what you do in the moment that that curveball is thrown that makes the difference between whether you're going to be expressing from the gift or you're going to go back to purposelessness. So it's really kind of a fun sort of background to where the sun moves next week. And that's kind of why I wanted to play with this energy right now with you guys, or these words, let's say. Then we have Mars and Neptune, both of them at gate 63. I think we talked a bit about this gate this week. In the lowest expression, it's doubt. And in the gift, it's inquiry. And in the highest expression, it's truth. Living from truth. Remember, I didn't get my cards up here this morning. Remember, we pulled that card about truth and being honest and living from truth. And then, of course, realized that Mars had moved into the gate 63, where, by the way, Neptune has been sitting all year. So we're already familiar with this niggling self-doubt that sits behind the scenes. We're suspicious of things, people's motives. We're suspicious of our own motives. And here we get an ideal time to refresh our view of the world. And in refreshing our view of the world, allowing ourselves to attune to our present environment, to what is it that we are doing? How are we contributing to the world? How are we contributing to the environment that we're in? It is a time for us to be investigating. It is time for us to be reserved, not to necessarily jump on board and take action yet, because the next step, which begins tomorrow, is about revitalizing and aligning ourselves with our ideals. So we're seeing that as a bit of a theme, right? Mercury saying to get with the gifts and get your gifts and your talents expressed. Venus saying finding inner equilibrium while holding true to your own high ideals. And even Mars and Neptune here saying get out of doubt, right? If you're in doubt, go investigate, right? Go look for some answers. Be reserved in taking any action yet. And then after tomorrow, being revitalized to be able to see how it is that you can align yourself with your highest values or your highest ideals, excuse me. Makes perfect sense, right? And then tomorrow, the sun moves into the gate 26, which then takes us into a talk about integrity and living those ideals and being in integrity. And integrity as not an ethical concern or a moralistic view, but as a living from your truth, living from your truth. And how interesting that even the moon in her conjunction to Jupiter today in the sign of Sagittarius takes us to that capital T truth. So it's an interesting day today. I feel like it's, how we say Wednesday's hump day. I feel like this is where, we are getting to the top of that. And then we can begin that ease and the flowing part of the energy that we've been sort of holding back from, being patient, hopefully being patient, and learning how to focus our energy in new directions. So let's see. Willa says, yay, let's go. I think that's about Ireland. How about questions? How's everybody doing out there? Anybody have questions for me? Anything? Any of you who attended the webinar last night have questions? Tom says, toot, toot. What does Angie say here? What was that? I have the same problem on my page. I bet we all do. You know what was most annoying to me about Facebook is when I discovered that people who like your page do not necessarily hear about the things that you're doing on your page. What? Really? So I wondered, because I was liking some pages and I really wanted to be able to hear about what was going on those pages, and I wasn't hearing anything about it. So you either have to consciously go and connect to that page, or you have to in some way sign up for maybe a mailing list or something to hear what's going on with those pages. And that was so irritating to me. If I like a page, it's because I want to hear what's going on, not because I'm just, playing your algorithm. Angie says, I feel amazing after last night's webinar. It was amazing. It was just amazing. It was magical. Yes, I have a group page, and such a pain. But you know what's interesting about group pages now, and this may make it easier to do things, is at first you couldn't host a Facebook Live on groups, but now you can, and it seems to work seamlessly. So not sure what to do, whether to change everything around or not. Stephanie, good morning. When will the recording of last night's webinar be available? As soon as I get done with this morning and get this up onto, production, I will go right in. They sent me the link last evening, and I can send that in the follow-up email that goes out to everybody today. And there was also Angie, I asked you to have a couple people test for me, and I didn't hear back from you, but I saw somebody went in and tried to register for it. I don't know what happened with that. So there's a little bit of, yes, you can sign up for the replay. Hold for that. I'll let you know tomorrow when I need to sort out with Zoom how they play with that. Because at the same time that they tell me just before the webinar that this is on demand, and that means that anybody can grab it and register for it and get it, then they send me a link, and then I'm like, well, that's not the same link that you sent me earlier. So now I'm confused. So I need to sort that out with Zoom. And I apologize that it's not right there right this second, but it will be available. So if you haven't already registered for it, you'll have to do that still in order to get it, because it wouldn't be fair to give it to everybody else for free when the people who came last night paid for it. So you'll still have the fee of $25, but you will have it. Let's see. Tom says, I found on the drop down, you have to click that you want to see it first, or something you won't, or sometimes you won't see it at all. I have to search your page, then scroll down. Takes me 2 minutes to start listening. I've always been late with the show. I'm ready to go at 8. I'm always at least 2 minutes early. Awesome. And Michelle also says, I think under follow, you can select to see their posts as a priority. Check it out. Whoa, check it out. Do that. Anyway, so that is all I have for you guys this morning. Let's see. Mimi says it seems to help if I interact with the person and or page to work with the algorithm. That's true too. I think that there was some change in Facebook earlier this year where I think it was in your friends, right? That if you didn't interact with people, you didn't always get to see their stuff. And because I use Facebook mostly for my business, I found like I wasn't even getting my husband's posts. My sisters were like, well, I put it on Facebook, and I'd be like, well, I didn't see it. And I realized I wasn't getting anybody's posts. The only people I was getting posts from were the people that I had actually interacted with. So there's some truth to that. Having to, go out and interact. And I don't know. They'll change that, I'm sure, as soon as the year starts. All right. Cause Tom says, cause I have to click on your show the long, long way because I get no notifications. Well, Tom, I know it's one of those irritating things, but maybe you can start at 5 minutes to 8 trying to find the page instead of 8. Just a thought, maybe. Just a thought. Start a little bit sooner, but it's going to help too. Now that the webinar is done, I can unpin that post from the top, and then it'll bump up the show to the top, hopefully. And I guess I could pin those posts to the top too, but I don't know how to do that yet because it's being done on my behalf from Be Live. So I may have to go back in and pin it. I will see. I'll check that one out. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will be doing follow-ups here, getting the link for everybody. There's a few people who registered late that didn't get their reports. I don't know if you're listening here this morning, but if you are, I will get your reports to you today and get back to answering people. If you haven't gotten an answer from me, it's because I was knee-deep in that webinar, and I will hopefully get back on track with that today. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, and hugs and kisses. See you tomorrow. We'll have a look at the weekend ahead. I can't believe it's already going to be Friday. Take care. Thanks, Angie. Bye for now.